It's the last week of term. Theo's rent is due, and he's £80 short. His manager asks if he can cover one more shift this week. Just one. He says yes without thinking twice. He doesn't realize that one shift just pushed him to 23 hours that week, 3 hours over his legal limit as an international student. And he won't find out anything went wrong until weeks later, when it's already too late to undo it. Phase 1. How he did it. Theo didn't think one extra shift would matter. He was already working 20 hours at the supermarket, right at his limit. But he'd also picked up a few hours a month at a campus cafe. In his head, those were two separate things. 2 small jobs, 2 different employers. Surely they didn't add up against each other. That week, between the supermarket and the cafe, he hit 23 hours. He didn't do the maths in real time. He said yes because the money mattered more in that moment than the number on paper. What Theo didn't realize is that his visa doesn't care how many employers he has. Every single hour, from every job, counts toward one weekly total. It's not a monthly average either. The week runs strictly Monday to Sunday. Work 23 hours one week and 15 the next, and it doesn't average out. That single week alone is already a breach on record. Phase 2. How he got caught. Theo didn't get a call the next day. Nothing happened for weeks. He kept going to class, worked his normal hours, and honestly forgot the extra shift had even happened. Then, during a routine check ahead of his visa renewal, his university's international office reviewed his payroll and tax records, the same records employers report through standard tax and timesheet systems. Sitting right there was that 1 week, 23 hours combined, already logged. It wasn't a dramatic confrontation. It was a quiet flag in a routine audit, the kind universities are required to check and report to the Home Office. By the time Theo sat down with the international advisor, the conversation wasn't about whether it happened. The records already proved it. It was about what would happen to him now. Phase 3. The financial fallout. Sitting across from the advisor, Theo realized there was no room for negotiation. The 3 extra hours were confirmed. What hit him hardest wasn't just the warning on his record. It was the immediate financial fallout. He had to quit the cafe job on the spot, wiping out the extra income he'd taken the risk for in the first place. On top of that, he was advised to get formal immigration guidance before his next renewal, a consultation that cost far more than the £80 he'd been trying to cover. His supermarket job stayed, but his hours were watched closely from then on. In trying to solve an £80 problem, Theo ended up worse off, down an income source, facing an advice bill, and still short on rent. Phase 4. The fix. Here's what Theo wishes he'd known before saying yes to that shift. First, most UK universities have hardship funds for exactly this kind of situation, though they can take a couple of weeks to process. Some universities also offer faster emergency short-term loans on top of that. It's worth checking what your specific university offers, since the options and timelines vary. Second, before picking up extra hours across multiple jobs, it's worth speaking directly to your university's student advice service. They deal with work hour questions regularly and can tell you what's actually safe before you act, not after. And third, the real fix isn't just tracking hours more carefully. It's building a small buffer into your budget early, so one unexpected bill doesn't force a rushed decision. An extra shift might feel like the fastest fix in the moment, but as Theo learned, it's rarely the cheapest one. So here's the full picture. Hours across every job you work count toward one strict weekly limit, with no averaging allowed. Breaches usually surface through routine payroll and compliance checks, not dramatic confrontations. And the real cost isn't just the visa risk, it's lost income, advice fees, and added stress. The £80 Theo needed was never really the problem. The problem was not knowing there was a safer, cheaper way to close that gap under pressure. If you were in Theo's position, would you have taken that extra shift or looked for another way to cover the rent first? Let me know in the comments, and subscribe for more of Theo's story and more real UK and Europe finance breakdowns.